Battlefield 4. Cool game. Probably, in a way, one of the more popular ones. It's tough because, like, Battlefield 5, World War II, Battlefield 1, World War 1, solid game. There's a time and place for those games. But the thing with 4, I think, is that in its own timeline, it is very modern, and I think people can relate to that a little bit more. The most relevant, yeah, it's good. Weirdly enough, I don't think it's as solid and put together and done as well as Battlefield 1, for example. I even think Battlefield 5 is just a little bit better quality. I don't know. It's like they found a really good way to do this older game, as in the game's timeline, not necessarily our timeline, but I don't know, I just think those games are better. I think whenever I play this game, it's like, yes, the graphics are good. A lot of camera shake, which is kind of annoying. I don't really feel like you got that as much with the other Battlefields. I don't know, this Battlefield definitely seems more arcadey, more old, which it technically is. Which is good. I think that's definitely not a bad thing. You know, games like this and the classic CODs, they definitely have its own flavor and signature formula. And I can see why people come back to this game and and still playing it to this day. Especially after 2042, I still think a lot more people prefer 4, which is totally understandable. Because it's not too much in the future, it's not trying so hard to be this something that's not even a thing yet, and things like that can be interpreted very differently by a lot of people. At least with 4, it's like, yes, in the timeline it was somewhat of a, you know, it was some years ago, but it wasn't like anything too far back like the World Wars, and not something too far forward with 2042, so it does meet that really nice balanced middle ground. But just the game itself, it doesn't, I don't know. You can tell it's aged, you can tell, like, I don't know, I've had plenty of problems with it. Like, I don't like when you order something and, like, the campaign single player wise, PvE, and they're just really bad shots. Like, your teammates are not helping you at all, and if you even notice that they are, it's not very great. There's really bad checkpoints. It's really easy to die. You're gonna get blown up from grenades. You're gonna die so quickly. You don't know who's shooting at you. I mean, that's Battlefield in a nutshell. But I think the problem with 4 is that it's a lot more relevant, or it's a lot more noticeable when you take account, like, holy crap, dude, I'm dying over and over. I'm not that bad, dude. I'm trying, I'm giving it some effort, and I'm still just eating shit the whole time. I don't know, it's like you have to get lucky, like, move up. And I know these games by now. Move up, the sooner you move up, the sooner your teammates can move up, you get the mission over with. or else you're just gonna pop heads constantly. It's not so much that they respawn all the time. Sometimes it can be. But it's just some of these gunfights just take so goddamn long. And obviously you're trying not to die, you're trying not to get hit. It's still gonna happen no matter what. I wouldn't say the guns are like super accurate. I don't know, when I think of 4, and especially just comparing them to 1, 5... I'm not even gonna talk about Hardline. Fortunately, I haven't played 2042 yet. I'd like to, but obviously I'm not really like super anxious about it. It just feels, this game feels like a toy. It feels like cheap and like, it's still great quality and all these things. It just feels really slapped together and kind of like not as fine-tuned, and like it meets its requirements, but to me it's on such a low standard kind of thing. I mean, the game is still enjoyable, sure, like the story and the multiplayer is fun. There are good cutscenes. The AI is kind of bad. I don't know. There's just as many bad things as there is good things, and it's never like a fun thing to have to say, but I don't know. Half the time you don't know where people are shooting at you from. It can be kind of messy and kind of a disaster. Does it depend on the person playing? Yeah, but because I've played this 2-3 times now, and I don't know. Even that second time around, I was like, okay, hey, I've played it before. I got used to the game, whatever. But I was still struggling in the same ways as before, and that's just frustrating. Like, it should be one of these games that's just these war games, Battlefield, COD. I've had about this exact same similar experience with every single game, literally. So it's not so much I'm singling this game out for that, it's just that's just how these games are for me. I don't know. But between the Battlefields I have played, between the CODs I have played, I just can't believe that. How is it that I run into the same crap every single time? Like, it's not even the fact that, hey, some of these games are actually so significantly different that, like, oh, there's one game that stands out above the rest to me because of this and this. I can't say that. The only good things I've had to say about Battlefields as a whole is the fact that, yes, it is cool. I realize there's a lot going on. There's a lot of destruction, a lot of vehicles, a lot of people. So what the game can handle, I respect that, but I think it tries to take on so much where I would like it to be better quality, it's just not there. You know, yeah, it's a game you can jump into, whether it is multiplayer or not. Just the game in general. You can just jump into it, mess around, have a good time, shoot some guns. It's just a fun, good little time. But it's definitely not like, oh, kind of like Call of Duty doesn't really go as above and beyond as Battlefield does. But the difference between Call of Duty is much better gunplay, all these things, and then Battlefield is kind of just like, they do really well just a little bit on every little thing that they do. Which I'm thankful for, because it's like, hey, I'd prefer driving around vehicles and tanks especially versus whatever it is that COD does over there. So I'm not like necessarily complaining, because this is kind of my preferred military game, to be pretty honest. Like, yeah, there's definitely not as much story or anything necessarily as much as COD, and that's just a whole different, as comparable as they are, they're very different So it's not super fair to like compare them on everything, but I don't know. Cutscenes are cool.
Apology, drop! Damn it, Wrecker. I almost shot you in the face. You lost your tail.
Ease up, Pack. Where the hell you been?
After the handoff went pear-shaped, I came straight here. They were Russians, right? Spec Ops, 1 second they're there, the next they're not.
Yeah, the gameplay, the gunplay, it's hit and miss. Not the greatest, not the best, but not the worst either. I'm sure there's much worse out there. I haven't played a lot of like indie military games that are out there. Maybe not indie per se, but just like lesser known. There's enough of them where it's like, dude, I can't play them all, man. I'm not gonna specialize in just military games. As cool as they are. But even with all that said, it's like the good times I do have in Battlefield 4 specifically, I mean it makes up plenty for the bad times, because I just kind of tolerate it, look past it, get over it, whatever. It's fine. Yeah, I die a lot, you know, but it's also one of those games, sure, that you do have to spend a lot of time in to really get to know it as much as possible, and the experience could change up quite a bit because of that. I understand that. But obviously I haven't played this specifically enough to like get to that point, and that's what frustrates me, is because like I think in games there should be some kind of skill wall there. I get it. But at the same time, this is one of these games where they expect you to kind of just jump in, play. But the problems you do end up having are just so like extreme in their own right that it kind of makes it hard to like treat it as the game is trying to be, which is this whole like just fun little shooter game. And you know, you're shooting guns, you gotta be accurate, you gotta be on your toes and get into it and learn all the guns, learn all the maps, learn all the vehicles, the attachments, just whatever, the different subclasses. But I don't know, you could tell there was some effort there to make it like as easy and simple and accessible as possible, but at the same time, sure, there is somewhat of a skill thing involved, but and obviously a lot of this does depend on what kind of modes that you like. Obviously the biggest, most popular mode is the Conquest, or whatever the hell they call it. As many people as possible, vehicles, you know, that's the most accurate kind of war representation that you're really going to get out of these games, and that's why people go to these games, for that. This isn't, you know, team deathmatch or something, right? You can do stuff like that, but you know. But I'm looking at the whole thing in general, the campaign, the PvE, the PvP, blah blah blah. You know, I think the biggest problem I have is like, you know, really pay attention to the mini-map. I don't like the mini-map that much. I've played games where I like those mini-maps a lot more. I kind of hate the big funky like square detailed mini-maps, because like, dude, and especially, is it in the left corner, bottom left, bottom right, top left, top right? Things like that really make a difference, like placement of stuff. And I know there's some accessibility options. I don't know. I think the most you can do is change your team's colors, which I don't really care for, but whatever helps, right? I mean, settings, the more settings, the better, but that would be kind of cool. It'd be a lot to kind of for a game to do, but if you could just move stuff around the way you want it, kind of like how you can do that with streaming services and video editors and stuff, because you're gonna spend a lot of time in this thing, and you want to be able to navigate it as, you know, as efficiently as possible. And it's just tough when you can compare things like this to Destiny or something like that, right? Because it's like the Destiny radar, the minimap, I like it a lot more than stuff like this. Because Call of Duty does the same thing with their minimaps. It's just like, it's a big deal. If it's somewhere where I'm not going to notice it or care for or even look at, or if I don't take what the minimap can do seriously enough, I'm not really going to care. And then you have that on top of like, these people really blend into the environment. There's not much that really makes them stand out necessarily, so you gotta keep your eyes peeled. And it's not gonna be easy for everyone to do. Like, you know, do you have a good monitor? Do your eyes get kind of dry from staring at screens all day, and maybe you have lights in your face? Like, I don't know, it's just annoying. And as an amateur and a beginner, this is definitely valid for sure, but like, I'm just tired of people seeing me a whole minute before I see them. And it'll happen a lot more than I'd like it to. Like, yeah, it's nice when when I'm able to get my sights on them first versus the other way around, but like 90% of the time that's not the case. And that can be frustrating. That it's stuff that makes you not want to continue playing, whether you want to replay the campaign or keep playing the multiplayer regularly too. And yeah, a part of it is like, sure, you have to play enough to get past that point where you're able to play more comfortably than you were versus when you first started. Duh. But like, then you start thinking like, well, fucking, if I do that, how long is it gonna take me? How many days, how many hours is it gonna take for me to like just get to the spot where other people are? Because you verse other people and they're so fucking good. Granted, these battlefields have a campaign, but they are more tailored toward PvP. I mean, that's just how it is. And I don't really play a lot of PvP stuff, and if I'm going to, it's going to be a first-person shooter like Battlefield, like Call of Duty. It's the only stuff I really mess around with in that way, if not a third-person shooter like PUBG. But, yeah. I don't know, it just makes me mad because it's like, you know, let's say I switch roles for a minute, for a day, and I was this like super heavy online multiplayer PvP kind of guy. These are the things that I would like to be implemented in these games that I play, but they're not. That's my problem, is that it's too easy to find too many things wrong with it to where you get to the point where you have to look so much past it to where you're ignoring a lot of shit that, you know, is a problem. And that's never a fun thing to have to do. I realize that's just kind of life, but like, I mean, fuck, man. Like, what is it gonna take to just kind of like... And the problem with that is, like, I like Battlefield. I like Call of Duty. I don't want to be forced to find some shittier game that's gonna be better for me, when I would love to have that with these games. So I think these are important things to consider when like they make new games, and what kind of quality of life they're gonna have. What are they gonna change for the better for everyone? Because I think these are pretty fair issues all across the board. Like they're not unreasonable by any means. Are they really small things individually? Yeah, but when you add them all up, it does add up a little bit, but whatever. I don't know. What are you gonna do? Yeah, the gameplay's fun.
More incoming. See him?
Watch out! I'm firing!
And by fun, I mean, like I said earlier, arcadey. not quite as 3D or realistic as some other games do. Specifically, the more modern Call of Duty is kind of what I'm comparing that to. Which I'm not a fan of at all. I don't like that stuff. I think you kind of notice that same sort of deal with like remakes of certain games, like, you know, because what did a lot of games used to be? Very 2D, not like 2D literally, but like a lot more flat and a lot more, you know, less pixels and less shit, which was just more fun. Like going back playing older games, it is fun. Like, it's not even just a nostalgic thing, it's just I love new games. I will support those through and through, but some of them are kind of shit. And that's because they try so hard to make everything so curvy and so real, and hitboxes and angles, and sometimes it drives me crazy. So that's what I do like about this game. Can I give it shit about it at the same time? Yeah, but you kind of just get your sights on, accuracy aside. It's just fun popping heads. It's fun, like, body shots. You feel that impact. It's not too much. Like, there's not too much to it to where it's just like, alright guys, I get it. You just hit your target, you're done, dude. On to the next guy. And that's what games like this do really well, is especially on next gen consoles or whatever, like, even better. You're getting kind of the most out of this game that you basically possibly can at this point. So that's what makes it even better. Great. Yeah, the PvE, the campaign, it's actually pretty fun. There's a lot of rain, there's a lot of darkness, there's a lot of lights, there's a lot of... Just because of where it mostly takes place at, I just think it's fun. Like, you really do get a little bit of everything, which these games have always been really good at doing that. Like, a lot of different settings and areas, and... So yeah, it's fun. It's I think this game stood out to me more than, obviously, WW1 and WW2. Not as much WW2 in a certain way, because a lot of war games, I think they revolve around the same countries. The more obvious choices and options for the countries that have been at war with each other. And I don't think enough games really touch on kind of the countries that not necessarily, I don't know, like, aren't as well known in the kind of war stuff. Or you'll have a lot of games that kind of touch on it a little bit here and there, but never like super significantly, I guess. But with games like this, it's a war. There's only really like two sides to the thing here. You know, for the most part. This isn't WW1 and 2 where like there was all kinds of different countries going at it, right? So I think with this stuff like this, it is a little more linear in that way, which can be good because you're a little bit more focused on the country that they decided to put into the game that you're fighting against, or that you are playing for that fact is. And I think that's really cool, and they really feature like specific countries that kind of just excite me a little bit more, and I'm more into and more biased towards, because that just makes me all that much more interested. I like the graphics, I like the arcadey stuff, I like the countries they chose here. It's just a good game. Like, for where not Fall, I almost said Fallout. For where Battlefield 4 is, you know, I'm really not surprised it is where it is, and I'm glad it is where it is, and makes me happy and proud to have played this game and to try it out and and give it a good go and enjoy it as much as I could have, to my fullest possible extent. So yeah, definitely no regrets by any means. I like kind of the alternate ways or alternatives, whatever, that you can, if you want to play the older stuff, you can. If you want to play the newer stuff, you can. But then you're also thinking these older games may be newer, or these newer games may be older as far as production wise. So there's that to go off of as well, but you really do get like a nice, you have some nice options to pick from, which I'm all about. Multiplayer was good. Yeah, between the campaign and the multiplayer, I think they're very both enjoyable in their own ways. And that's the biggest reason, you know, because it's so easy to break things down, but those are the two main reasons why I come to Battlefield and why I will like it so much more than Call of Duty ever. I didn't even start liking COD till X amount of years ago. I wish I got into Battlefield even sooner than I did, but it took a while. But when I did, I knew that I liked it as much as whatever else I knew was out there, which was COD basically. So yeah, Battlefield's definitely my preference. They've given me a lot more reasons to like it. That's the thing, there's a Battlefield community and there's a COD community. And there's maybe people like me that dabble in both, but really it's going to come down to one of the two, and Battlefield wins for me by a mile. Although, yeah, with COD, like, there's a lot of good things to be said, but I gotta go with Battlefield. Which I think is understandable. It really does depend on who you are. Like, are you more maybe chill, or laid back, or relaxed and comfy and cozy and easygoing? And I think between playing Battlefield or COD does say a lot about you. And, you know, are you into the whole adrenaline thing and rushes and daring and challenging and or you know, it's just probably easier to look at the fact that Battlefield is just very enjoyable, and I think it's closer to home because it doesn't try to go too out of its way to be some weird, wacky, strange, odd, crazy thing. It's just less is more. It really is. Like, sometimes you just want a simple, nice, basic, clean military war shooter FPS single player PvE and or multiplayer PvP experience. And this game is perfect for that. But yeah. Battlefield 4.